Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, guten morgen, bonjour, hola, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Ken at 10. How are you today? The fuel crisis continues. The army is sending in tanker drivers, not tanks. It's funny how looking at the headline behind me, this was taken from the Sun, and the army are coming in and they put a picture of a tank on the front of it. What's that about? I mean, it's just sensationalism, isn't it? And I was thinking about this, we had one of my colleagues' wives, Beck, she was in Tesco and they're running out of some of the basic foods, and she was looking for formula for baby, and she looked on the shelf and there were two different supplies of formula, and that was it, only two left. And she took two, she picked them both up, and then she went, wait, no, and she put one back. I thought, bless her, that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? So it just got me thinking about our selfishness. There's this thing, isn't there, about a queue. We look at a queue, oh, everyone's queuing for fuel, maybe we should queue for fuel. Really, do you need it? Or are you worried, and then it gets in your head, doesn't it, of the kind of like, well, if they're going to queue for fuel, they might not need, they probably don't need it. I'll bet they don't need it. I better get it, otherwise they'll take it. And you end up talking yourself into getting stuff you don't need. And I just think, be more like Becks, be more like Becks. Think about it. If you don't need it, don't get it. It will work itself out in time. I know it's frustrating out there, folks. I know it's frustrating. We've had queues up and down the London Road and all sorts of mayhem and pandemonium going on. But we will all live through this. It is just fuel. You can't get it, you can't get it. But think about, if you don't need stuff, don't start panicking. We are the panickers of the world, aren't we, us Brits? Oh my gosh, there's a fuel shortage, let's store it everywhere. I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised there's a few fires with all this stuff people are storing in the petrol. It's craziness. Anyway, good morning. That's my rant over for the day. How are you? I hope you're well. This is Ken at 10. We broadcast daily, talking about property things. We're based in SW16 Norbury, which is situated between Streatham to the north and Croydon to the south. And we talk about property and investment and everything that's going on. And in today's edition, we're going to tell you what the UK's property hotspot is. And that might surprise you amongst some other headlines. The weather here in SW16 is strangely wintry, very strangely. By the way, next week, you may see Ken at 10 with sunshine behind him, because I will be away next week, but I hope to broadcast to you live from Spain and show you what's going on there. Just as a nice little contrast, a little break for Ken next week, but I will be putting some broadcasts out there just to have a chat and keep the channel going, as it were. We love to come on and chat to you guys. So locals being priced out of home worker hotspots is the headline in the Telegraph today, BBC News as well, City AM and the Independent. Again, they're all buying into the same journalist. It used to be there'd be loads of different headlines, didn't it? Now it seems there's only one journalist covering a lot of them. And it says that young and low paid workers risk being priced out of rural and coastal tourist hotspots by a steep rise in house prices caused by the rush of home working. It says that house prices were rising at around 3 times the national annual rate in some rural and coastal areas, such as Conwy in North Wales and North Devon, where they're up by 22.5%, and Richmondshire in the Yorkshire Dales at 21.4%. The ONS, that's the Office for National Statistics, found. And by contrast, house prices in the City of London fell by just over 10% annually in July. They said by rising house prices and private rents mean that some workers are at risk of being priced out of rural and living in rural and coastal areas, contributing to skill shortages in tourism and hospitality that their local economies rely on. Well, yeah, it was always going to be the way, wasn't it, with this pandemic? People with sharp elbows, people with the money will go to the beauty spots and they will push those without out. And that's capitalism for you. Very sad, but there we are. I'll come back to the investment hotspot in a moment. Mortgage approval dips and net lending climbs. This shows that the net mortgage lending increased by 5.293 billion in August. That's bouncing back from a net repayment of 1.758 billion in July. Gross mortgage lending increased to 21.5 billion, recording from a low seen in July when lending came in at 16.6. Mortgage approvals fell to the lowest level for more than a year, with the 74,400 home loans approved down on the 75,000 recorded in July. The average size of a mortgage approval increased from 251 to 267 in August, reflecting, no doubt, the growth in house prices we've seen across the UK. And remortgage approvals grew to their highest level since March, totaling 39,700. An article by City AM and the Independent says that mortgage deals have jumped below 1%. Jump below 1% doesn't make any sense, does it? What that means is the number of people offering mortgages that are sub 1% has increased. Analysis by Money Supermarket, this is in City AM, shows that the number of mortgage deals with rates below 1% has surged in the last 3 months, while just 10 deals with rates below 1% were available in June. September saw 50 deals below 1%. That's incredible, isn't it? Joe Thornhill of Money Supermarket noted that it's not just remortgages with low loan-to-value ratios that can benefit. The low-rate deals are also available for first-time buyers and home movers. Well, that may be true, but let's clarify that. Most of the 1% or sub-1% deals are not available to high loan-to-value, which does exclude most first-time buyers, to be totally fair about it, which is frustrating. Something we've always been frustrated about is the fact that first-time buyers pay more because they're a higher risk. And we get that they're a higher risk, but they're the very people that really can ill afford it. It's always a little bit frustrating. I'd like to see something straightened up there in the way that mortgage lenders work. Rental demand sees rental property stock surplus disappear. We've certainly seen this. This is an article from City AM, and this is research by a buy-to-let specialist, Secure Property Investment, and it's found that increasing tenant demand has seen a stock surplus in properties available to rent begin to dry up. The level of surplus climbed when the pandemic hit in 2020 across 21 major cities at the end of 2020. Now, the number of properties available slowly declined in the start of 2021. There were just 57,000 available in the latest market data. This represents a 66% drop in available properties on the pandemic high. And it's also 41% lower than the levels seen before the pandemic. Something we've been saying for a while. The level of available rental properties has dropped dramatically, and this is impacting on rents. And the next article in the Evening Standard, rental prices in London's best locations have recorded their strongest quarter of growth in more than 10 years. Well, no surprise given what we just heard. There's no supply. It's a supply and demand market. Demand's up, and so prices are up. It saw the largest quarterly increase in the third quarter to September since March 2011. Rental prices in prime London rose particularly strongly by 3.6% in the quarter. Reasons included workers returning to the office, corporate relocations, and the resumption of international travel. Apart from that, there are some stagflation fears for the economy. Could be heading for a scenario where inflation surges, but economic growth remains stagnant. Well, we've certainly seen inflation surging, and that does bring me back to those sub 1% interest rates. I know we shouldn't talk about mortgages, and this is not mortgage advice, but if I had a mortgage and were a broker, I might be saying you might want to look at these rates while they're available, because there's going to come a point when interest rates are pressured through inflation and rates might go up. And you want to protect yourself against that if you can. Think about a fixed rate. You heard it here first. Probably didn't hear it here first, but you've heard it here anyway. At least we got it out there. Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey's been talking to Reuters, and he says he expects Britain's economy to recover to its pre-pandemic level early next year, which is great news. We'll be out of the woods and back to normal by the sounds of it. Encouraging, isn't it? Apart from that, the UK's property investment hotspot, drumroll, where is it? Very pleased and proud to say it's good old London. Oh yes, London remains the UK's primary focus for property investors, according to research from FJP Investment, London-based and London-only brokers. Not really. They're not really London-based at all. But it found that the people that are investing in the capital in the next 12 months are bigger than anywhere else in the UK. The next most popular destination was the West Midlands, and that's with 32% citing it. 40% said London, and the East of England ranked third, drawing the interest of 26% of potential investors. It also reveals 44% of property investors are now more inclined to consider investing in properties in rural areas than they were pre-pandemic. Of the 512 investors polled, 44% intend to expand their portfolio in the coming year. Or you could say 56% don't intend to extend. I mean, it depends which way you want to make these headlines work for you, doesn't it? But it's certainly interesting that London's back up there. It wasn't long ago that London was, considered the dregs, and that we were never coming out of the pandemic, and therefore the holiday hotspots were the future. And now all of a sudden we see London bouncing back. As you heard here first, during the pandemic, we knew it would happen. London's bouncing back. I'm very pleased to report it is the greatest city in the world. And it's lovely to see things getting back on top in London. Generally, as far as the market's concerned, not enough stock. Tumbleweed out there for new stock, I'm afraid. Looking across the market generally, not many people are selling right now. So there's not much availability. And that means there are more purchasers chasing fewer properties. So if you're considering selling, it's still quite a strong time. We normally say, the market starts to shut down about around mid-October. I have a feeling this year, as most of this year, for other reasons, will be different. Remains to be seen, but certainly what we're finding is strong interest, strong demand. Some properties have really off the scale demand. We're still getting overbids on particular styles and types of property, particularly ones that need lots of work, actually. It's extraordinary. People love a doer-upper, they really do. And anything with planning permission, oh my gosh, unreal, especially if it's got planning for another dwelling. Small builders are smacking those up like hotcakes, they really are. So that's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition, and then next week, Ken at 10 from Spain. So remember, be more like Becks. Have a fantastic day. Speak to you soon.